Hey everybody, you're listening to The Ox and the Rat, the show where we put old tales to the test of modern times. I'm your host, The Ox. This is my friend the Rat. How you doing out there?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Lots going on. Some of it good, some of it bad, but
At least that's what we say anyways.
Yeah. The world keeps turning in any case. I don't think it cares much how my tiny stuff's going down. So today I've got a fun one. We've got a fun one. It's called The Fisherman and the Little Fish. I think it says little fish, but it's got big impacts. I think profound things to say about society. And maybe I've got my own take on it, of course, but you too. So are you ready to get going?
I am. Who was the writer of this here?
Aesop,
fable?
my friend. Do you know Aesop?
I do know Aesop. Just letting people know.
Yeah. So, well, can we drop a tidbit of Aesop here?
I can't drop a new one, but I could go back. Around 600, 500, something like that, BC, he was perhaps a slave, and all these fables were told orally and then eventually written and passed down through history.
Sounds like he may or may not have existed, and he may or may not, let's find out, be the fisherman in this tale. All right, let's get started then. You ready?
Ready.
The Fisherman and the Little Fish. A poor fisherman who lived on the fish he caught had bad luck one day and caught nothing but a very small fry. The fisherman was about to put it in his basket when the little fish said, "Please spare me, Mr. Fisherman. I am so small it is not worth while to carry me home. When I am bigger, I shall make you a much better meal." But the fisherman quickly put the fish into his basket. Greedy bugger. "How foolish I should be," he said, "to throw you back. However small you may be, you are better than nothing at all." Do you want to take a guess as to the moral behind this tale?
I'm going to say appreciate the small stuff.
Appreciate the small stuff. Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. It's a small gain is worth more than a large promise. Right. So let's put this thing to the test. We're ready. So I've got plenty to talk about here.
Let's just dissect that moral for a second. What? Can you say it again?
Yeah, so you want me to go? So
just
this fisherman, he lives on the fish he caught. A small gain is worth more than a large promise.
Small gain worth more than a large promise. So if you're promised to make a bunch of riches or get a bunch of money from some sort of scheme, perhaps, better to take the little bit of whatever rather than potentially lose it all. Seems like an investing strategy.
Well, I know a lot of investors who would say, a penny today is worth $1 tomorrow. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, looking back on this tale, so the guy catches a fish, and he's like, the fish is like, "If you catch me later, I'll be much tastier and larger." You're like, "Well, I'm hungry now, so I'll take this now, and I don't know if I'll catch you." And I think that's the key one, right? Because it's like, even if the fish is saying like, "Catch me later," he doesn't actually want to be caught, obviously, because he's a fish. But he also wouldn't talk because he's a fish. But you get the idea. Like, you'll take some food now against the promise of potential food later. Because you have real hunger now, and you don't know. Future is uncertain.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there.
I figure he could have used that as bait, gone for a bigger fish.
Oh, I like that. That now you sound like an investor again. That's good. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I could take this little fish and catch an even bigger fish.
If
Yeah, that's true. Definitely true.
we have to be, I'm assuming this is back in 600 BC. I don't think they had fishing rods. Probably
No, this
casting nets.
they had fishing rods.
I'm guessing he's casting a net.
No, I think he's got a fishing rod, but yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Then do it.
Yeah. Well, all right. The first thing that comes to mind for me is people, and lots of people that you know, probably. Maybe you could tell me if you know these people who have big dreams and never act on them. And certainly something real world that comes to mind or common is New Year's resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know it's an external thing. It's another person making a promise in this case, but it's the same thing essentially to say, you know, in 2020, in 2021, I'm gonna, do X.
I assume.
And never.
Sorry, I assume a lot of people wrote off 2020 to do it to say I'm going to do it in 2021.
They did it in 2019. They didn't in Christmas of 2019. But yeah, it's whatever.
But
it's the same thing all the time.
Once this hit, I'm guessing they're like, whatever. This year's a write off. Let's just do it next year.
That's a good fucking point because it didn't have to be. Maybe it was now that was the opportunity to do those things. That's a really good point. And I'll go down a rabbit hole there on my opinions about COVID and the approach to it, if necessary. I really feel like doing that, but I'll try and keep it non-COVID related if I can. But I mean, I really, this one strikes a chord with me because everything is small gains. There are very few times in your life where where you catch the big fish, right? Like where you get that gigantic promotion, where something comes out of nowhere. They're all incremental changes that you make leading up into something that that you wanted. Okay, so why do promises made to yourself not work? Often, my perspective, my belief, a lot of it's going to come down to like training and nutrition for me, fitness and nutrition. But I mean, like, it's because they're so, like, a promise is so ephemeral. That's not the right word I'm looking for, but it's just so vague that it could be anything. And the reason you make those promises is to kind of like most people make promises is to put things off, right? I promise to do this. Like, I've done that so many times, and it was only until my own health scare with cancer and everything that I was able to make changes to be the person I wanted to be, right? It took that kind of extreme situation for me to actually take action. But when you think about it, it's all small actions, man. Like, when you're at the gym, like, you don't grow huge muscles in a day. It's constant, consistent repetition over time, and then there's other things involved. Like there's different types of training, and there's nutrition involved, but that's how it works. And we have this idea in mind that, we're going to find the fast track. And I think that's what a promise is to me. It's something that people tell themselves to make themselves feel better. And it allows them to put off the need to actually do something today. That's where I am.
If they are breaking their promise, anyways, I don't know. If they keep their word, then it's not really. But a promise might indicate that they were not meeting whatever kind of standard So they have to make that promise in order to buckle down and actually do what they said they were going to do or thought they might do. But it's easy to break. And like you said, it's just was the word ephemeral?
Ephemeral. It's out there in
It's
the
out
ether.
there.
Yeah.
And there's no, I think we talked about it on another podcast a little bit. You need a plan. You need some sort of plan of action.
Hell yeah. Actions, man. Like, I really, I don't know if it's not contempt, but it's kind of like, I hate hearing about how people can't do things. I hate it. I do. I genuinely hate it because it's not true. I don't know why people tell themselves these stories. And this is one of them. And that's how that's what promises are like. Promises without like actionable things attached to them, right? It's like, oh, I could never do this. And then those are the kinds of people who will also go on these like wonky like diets, crash diets, or like wow, you did a month of fitness and you lost 10 pounds, and the next month you gained it all back. Like the the science is in the middle. It's not crashing. It's like it's not ups peaks and valleys. It's just consistent. It's a consistent upward trend that is based on the idea that I'm a little bit better today than I was yesterday.
Mm.
So
that's where that fits in. So instead of a promise of I'm going to lose 10 pounds, we should be promising every day I'll go out for a walk.
Hell yeah. I think that's circle of control stuff too, right? Like I love the idea of circle of control. It really makes things a lot simpler. A promise is like a vision statement for a company. And this is important because like companies' vision statements are clearly stated as outside of the possible. They're so out there, but that's for a reason. It's something to strive for, right? So if you use the promise, just using that word again, because that's what we're talking about, as sort of like this unattainable goal, I promise myself to be the fittest individual on the planet. I mean, that's insane. Like that's not possible. But it's a great unreachable goal that you will continue to strive for. Anybody can say that. The proof is in the pudding. Like you've got to do it. You've got to actually do it. And that's what you're talking about, a plan. Like it really, I know for me, it really came down to that. Was, for example, waking up at 5:30. That just, everything just kind of fell into that. And it was like, well, I'm up now. What am I going to do? There's nothing to do. I might as well work out. And
internet.
That's when things really changed for me. Yeah. It's part of the plan.
Well, I'm sure you know this. We know this from before. SMART goal. Let's go over that.
We're talking about SMART goals.
People,
yeah.
Well, some people probably don't know about it. I can't remember the first one now. SMART S. Specific,
measurable, achievable, or attainable.
Yeah.
What am I on? R.
Smart.
I sound like Homer Simpson in that. Achievable,
realistic,
timely, time specific or timely. Yes.
Yeah. So let's go over that a bit. So the first one, specific. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. There you go. That's fine. Measurable, 10 pounds. We have some sort of measure. We're going to do that. Attainable. That might be attainable depending on the time.
Scale. Yeah, there you go.
So let's say 2 months. I'd say that's attainable. 2 months. So we're on attainable. Realistic, yes. So we're just checking the boxes, making sure that each one is. And then timely. So Yeah, 2 months. But in one of those, smart, measurable, attainable, one of those smart, specific. Okay, so the 10-pound things, that was just the goal, but it wasn't necessarily specific.
Yeah, yeah,
So then we'd have to break down, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 this in order to achieve my goal in 2 months.
yeah. That's where the money's made, in that specific part. And it's really the part where most people struggle and fail with good reason. I mean, but
It's easy
man,
to put stuff off.
the barriers people put in front of themselves is stunning. Like, you know, it's like just wake up earlier. And they're like, "Oh, I couldn't do that." It's like, "Yeah, but you made this promise to yourself."
Mm.
Right? And then it's like, "Oh, and then it becomes like this thing that's so in the distance." So I prefer the day to day. Like, I have some things that I really focus on. A big book for me that change. I have a few like real life changing books or mentors. I like to call people mentors sometimes. Recently, I've been using that term. People I listen to on podcasts generally, or books that I've read, people who influence me. I prefer that to influencers because that just sounds like I'm a mindless drone. But anyways, big one for me was Atomic Habits. I don't know if anybody listening to this has read it, but man, that was so powerful. The one of the most powerful parts about it was how it broke down how to be, how to identify who you want to be and who you are. I cannot be everything. Although sometimes I try. Like I've got way too many interests right now. I've got a honeyed beer actually resting on fermenting right now. I've got to make sure I check on in a bit. But like I've got way too many hobbies and stuff. I mean that's the COVID thing, but in general, um, like like it broke it down into three things. Who are you? And for me, it was athlete, educator, lifelong learner. Those three things. And a lot of other things just kind of fell away at that point. And you could say some of them were good. Like, I don't play guitar. I wish I did. Uh, but I didn't feel guilty about it anymore that I wasn't practicing. Because I was so hyper focused, you know. And, I could only be a few things, but I could do those things super, super well. And those promises were vague enough. They were vision statements in a way. What would an educator do today? What would an athlete do today? That helped focus me. And, the specific stuff around it, that was actually real easy. What would a lifelong learner do? Well, I listen to podcasts or I read books. I'm always learning. So, yeah.
Hmm. Makes sense. And it doesn't have to be, the nice thing about this, about the little small thing, is it doesn't have to be insane. So,
No.
specifically talking, I guess, about exercise, you could just do a little bit, and
Hell yeah.
you're on your way. At least that was something. I'm trying to think. Small things. I do that with saving money, I guess. I've always kind of been that way. Where
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whatever, this used t-shirt is cool, is unique. I don't need an expensive whatever Nike. Things like that.
It's pronounced Nike.
Nike. Is it really though?
Yeah, I think sadly it is.
In,
It's not nearly as cool.
but it was from the States, and everybody in the States calls it that. But in Britain, they call it Nike, right?
I don't know, man. Adidas is Adidas. So Adidas.
Small things. I think. Well, I kind of talked about it in another one too. Just appreciating the fact that I might not get to somewhere. I'll go to that goal, but I think you also have to be realistic. like the SMART goal, and you might not be that millionaire person, but you could be satisfied with whatever the kind of money you're making and things that you can do, moments you can have. I don't really know if I have any specific one for this. I'm sure I do, obviously, but
Well, what are the little what are the little things that you do? Like, what are the things, like, I guess we'd have to start with, what's your vision of who you are?
and is it to better yourself? Because this was just to have some food,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
or is it
true. I
just
guess we
like
could.
anything?
Is this about, is it about survival, or is it about self-improvement?
Mm-hmm.
Good question. I would argue, we're not about survival here, so,
Not anymore.
we'd have to argue it's for self-improvement.
And how relevant would that message have been, and for how long? If it was
Hmm.
just about
Well, we can
survival.
relate it. We can relate it to today. I mean, okay, let's talk about
What's the
let's
new
talk about.
what's the new fish?
Oh yeah, no, I like that. What's the new fish? That's another good one.
It's got to be
What's the
it's
new
got to be currency, I suppose.
what's the new fish? Yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah, money. And you talked about investments. A classic one for. I'll give you an example, right? Like taking if you have automated investments set up, right, like per month, it's technically better, although the extremely low interest rates make it like almost like
Nothing.
BS, but like it's technically better to invest more frequently to the same dollar amount per month than to have make one lump sum payment, at the end of a month.
Mm.
So consider that. That's genuinely true. I mean, because you earn compound interest compounds, daily, as far as I can tell. But we're getting a little technical there. I yeah. I mean, it is the daily thing for me that does it. I think. What's the new currency? What's the new fish? Yeah, currency. Uh, I would probably argue that it's also like maybe like supplements. Like everybody's looking for the magical pill that's gonna, solve their problems.
Could
I don't
be
know. What do you
food
think?
in general, yeah. Like some people you hear about that they can't afford food, so you go for that cheap, easy meal, which is like
Oh,
McDonald's.
that's a great fucking example. Oh my god. Are you ready for a rant?
All right.
Have you been ready for any of these already? Okay. So, right. That's so perfect. As a former, like cancer patient and all that, man, nutrition plays such an important role in my life. Uh, I mean, not only what I eat, but when I eat, and having that mastery over myself, master of my domain, Seinfeld, anyone, um, is is so important. And like, I think that what you're hitting on is like this thing that we do where we fill a void by it doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything. I see it all the time. Like we fill a void. Food's a very common one, right? Like people don't even recognize that they're anxious or they're sad or whatever, or they do, and they're like, "Well, I just need ice cream, or I just need this, I just need that." Um, you actually don't. You probably need to address what the problem is. I think we're getting a little bit off the beaten path there, but you know, food is one of these things that crosses so many boundaries. I mean, you're talking about like emotion. You're talking about, well, beyond survival now, well beyond. Like we're way beyond a calorie problem. We have far more calories than we know what to do with. That's not the problem. The problem's nutrition. Uh, you know, so
Yeah, so
that's a really
I
good
was
one.
thinking with that um which is almost the opposite of this message in some ways. Although it wasn't like you could go get your McDonald's meal, might be cheaper than getting something else, but I think it was the ease of getting the meal, of getting that
Mm.
McDonald's meal, because you could buy vegetables and whatever else for the same amount, which could probably feed the same amount of people. With if you buy some vegetables, you buy a little bit of meat, and you got to cook it up, but that's going to be more effort, time. So
Well, you know my feelings about vegetables.
you
I,
don't.
I would, I would, I would reverse your cart, and I would say you get lots of meat and a little bit of vegetable.
Well, you don't
But
have money though. That's the thing. If you only have $10, you can buy more vegetables and a little bit of meat.
no, yeah, see, that's a. I'm gonna put up some defense there. Like, it doesn't cost much to eat well,
No, I have 10,
actually.
but I'm saying specifically $10. If we only have $10, you could go get a McDonald's meal,
Yeah.
or you could get chicken breasts or something like that. That might take $6. You could still eat just a chicken breast and be full, but and some eggs maybe. But if you want to stretch it, say you had to buy for or eat more meals or feed more people, like vegetables are just cheaper in general.
Yeah, but less nutrient dense. Anyways, um, yeah. So getting back to it, I think that was an interesting point because it kind of like argues against this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the idea that you should just focus on the now and at the expense of the future of some future possibility.
Because he's gonna go home, all he's gonna do is eat that one little fish. I'm sure he probably has a family. So rather than spending more time trying to get more food, he's just like, nah, got this one. I guess today's a bust. And we're just gonna have a
Yeah,
tiny fish for dinner.
it was a fry.
Yeah.
I
It's
believe
like,
that means
so
small
if
fish.
we're going modern, he's bringing home one fry
A
from
single
McDonald's.
fry and cutting it into. Let's say he's a parent. He's got a wife. She needs a third of that fry. kid, kid. Well, God, let's hope he only has one kid. Who knows?
Yeah, probably
Yeah,
has a bunch.
I like summing things up. I think. I think for me, I totally. Well, totally. I mostly agree. I mostly agree with this. And like for me, it's the practicality of the everyday. Like the guy's got a fish. That's really different than the guy could have a fish. You talk about like the old Confucian stuff about like give a man a fish and whatever, but the the important thing is he has, so he should. I suppose.
So he
I don't
should
know if that's clear.
appreciate his accomplishment.
He should act. You know that's been the guidepost of the last goddamn like year or two of my life. Like, stop talking, do it. Yeah,
What about this guy? He got that fish. He did it. Now just go home. Well, let's go over the moral one more time, just to remind
sure.
ourselves. Because I
Yeah, a small gain is worth more than a large promise.
okay, so you got something that's better than nothing, basically.
That's a good summary of it.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
it's
yeah, and no. Like, and this is interesting because when I look at this again, I'm reminded of some of the things we just talked about. Like, you have something today is worth the potential of tomorrow. That kind of goes against some of the things that we know to be true, such as compound interest, for example.
taking
But in
risks.
yeah, but in general, I think it's true. Like outside of some of the the finer points of like finance and stuff, like I'll take because but then again, like the small gain compound interest works that way, right? Like you gain interest every day. So it is telling that exact truth. And when I take it to less, to more substantial things like, working out or, what you eat today, or it tells you like it's about who you will become tomorrow. Like those things are compounded on a daily basis and they are small gains.
Right. So
You know,
if you said, okay, I'm going to walk today, and then you're like, nah, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow, but I'm going to go 10 kilometers. Or you go, no, I'm going to do like even more sets tomorrow. I'm just going to give it. And then the next day you're just super sore. And then you're like, oh, I got to rest now
awesome.
for like 4 days because I just pushed it too much.
You're talking about overtraining, man, and it happens all the freaking time. And I've done it to myself a million times.
Mm-hmm.
It's like throwing out your back or whatever. These are well documented facts. There's a whole like endurance runners overdo like runners triathletes in particular are on one scale of this, you know always overtraining is a real problem. It happens all the time. People just live in this constant state of pain, but that's wrong. That's not how you're supposed to live,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it goes the same for weightlifters and stuff. Like, you're not supposed to be in pain
Mm-hmm.
all the time. You're not supposed to wake up tired. And I've definitely been on both sides of that as I've tried to work on endurance, do cardio stuff, run 5Ks and 10Ks. And, I've always been a weightlifter and lifting more, but like lifting smarter is about focusing on the granularity of everything that you do in that day. It's not about it's not about saying like, well, shit, I didn't make any gains this week. It's about looking at the curve, right? It's about seeing that upward curve over a long period of time. It looks better, although day to day, maybe you only put on another 5 pounds. Maybe you only squatted another five. Maybe you only gained 5 seconds, but you did it within the range that you're capable of doing it without harming yourself. So you bringing that up is perfect. I mean, overtraining is a massive problem.
Grease the wheels. Just do some easy stuff too in between. Just to
Hell yeah, man.
So I can't remember who said that, but just like doing one pull up or whatever a day, when you go to do that set of whatever, it's going to be just a little bit easier eventually because you just continuously have greased the wheels.
I'll tell you, man. One of the things that I was most ashamed of was how poor my upper body strength was for so long. I could never do a chin up, and then I did one. I could barely do one. I bought a chin up bar in England. And I could barely do one. Then like I could do one easily. Then it was two, it was three, it was four, and man, that was over like a year.
Mm.
And now it's not even a question of whether or not I can. It's just how many. And that's where you get into the granularity of it. And focus on small gains. That's all life is, man. It's all it is. All life is a series of you know, small challenges that you overcome. I mean, some days that challenge could literally just be rolling out of bed at an alarm. That could be your achievement,
Mm-hmm.
and that is an achievement. It's not if you shouldn't turn your nose up at it.
Slow and steady, just like the
Wins the
rabbit.
race. Oh, tortoise,
Tortoise.
hare,
Hey, why do I keep saying the rabbit?
the hare.
Yeah, make your bed. That's another.
Oh hell yeah! I'm gonna go Jordan Peterson on this thing. Yeah,
Um,
make your bed. Do your bed.
some of this is kind of related, but last week we were talking about goals or something like that. So I had a
Oh yeah.
goal to
Oh yeah.
to
Yeah.
get some shirts made,
Mm.
and tell me your goal, because I'm just gonna go grab my
Well, you
shirt
remember
that I
I
got
was
made.
gonna do I was gonna do a 2-day fast. Yeah. Did you make the shirts?
And did you do that fast?
I did.
You did it,
Wasn't hard.
and here we go.
Uh,
Ta-da!
oh shit. Nice. That's cool, man. So we actually followed through, and it was a small gain.
Small gain. Now the next step would be to try to sell some of these things somehow. I'm also gonna look
So
at doing a little reverse tie dye on this sucker. Make it a bit
what's a reverse tie dye?
basically bleaching out the color with bleach.
Huh.
It looks kind
That's cool.
of cool, yeah. So I'm gonna try that
Well, I'll
out.
tell you what my next goal. I'll tell you what my long-term goal is, and we'll see with some small gains here. So yeah, I like challenging myself. Why not? Um, I want to be a graphic designer. That's what I want to do. I want to learn how to at least how to be functional with graphic design. Um, I'm going, and I think I want to start with uh, Wacom tablet sort of thing on screen and focus on the Adobe suite. So that's a long term one because there are financial things involved with that. But that's a small gain for me in that direction with that large promise would be, um, you know, maybe finding some technology I can afford.
And I would
Yeah.
say, as I gave you a little bit of advice before, go with a small fish, especially with
Mm.
like Photoshop and everything. You can get those big fancy tools, but better to use a mouse at first, in my opinion, and figure out what that can do, because it is just as powerful in a lot of ways for graphic design. Photoshop, Illustrator.
Right, my friend. So I think we've come full circle here. Let's give this a thumbs up, thumbs down. A small gain is worth more than a large promise.
I give it,
I I very much agree. But go ahead.
yeah, I give it a thumbs up. Just like you guys should give this video a thumbs up
Very clever,
if you want.
indeed. Yes, please give us a thumbs up. Yeah, a small gain is worth more than a large promise. A like here is worth more than a like tomorrow.
Yeah,
I
don't
like it.
don't say you're gonna subscribe next video. Just hit the subscribe button.
Let's make it happen, man. You want to listen to the soothing sounds from our voices and listen to a few ox and rat rants. But yeah, small gain is worth more than a large promise. Absolutely.
Make some
Make
freaking goals. Make sure they're smart.
you remember this. I just remembered this before we go. Um, do you remember the poster that used to be up in the office where we worked together that I had done? It was Teddy Roosevelt. Do you remember it?
No, I was thinking of the movie poster, but what Teddy
Roof.
Roosevelt?
That one was great. That one was awesome. Oh my god. Yeah, but it was above the door, so you would see it every time you left.
And what did it say?
It was Teddy Roosevelt. It was his get action quote. I loved it. I loved it, and I'm glad to be living that life. Get action. It's so good. I can't remember the entire quote. Let me look it up quickly before we go here, and that'll be a great quote.
Little
TR.
exit.
Yeah. Get action. Do things. Be sane. Don't fritter away your time. Create. Act. Take a place wherever you are and be somebody. Get action. Goddamn. That is, if that ain't the quote of all time, for all time, I like I don't know what is. Like, go do stuff. Stop talking. Make things happen, man.
This is
Make it happen today.
my quote. Not quite as eloquent. Make stuff, do stuff.
Okay. What's that?
Make stuff, do stuff.
I like that too. Yeah.
Simple.
You and Teddy would have been friends.
MSDS. That's my thing.
MSDS. That's also an acronym. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Well, till next time, people, get action, do things, be sane, and don't fritter away your time.
Most importantly. All right. Catch you next week.
Peace out.
Later.